807. He's our favorite songwriter ever. Don Goodman is here. Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
It's so good to see you again. Operation Song is this amazing program. It's for veterans with PTSD, and it shows that music is really the most wonderful thing ever.
What we witness on a weekly basis, it's healing. It's just absolute healing. We watch gentlemen and ladies go from total recluses to working their way back into society, and it's godsend.
I am amazed by the incredible, talented songwriters that you've managed to get together for this group. Today's veteran is Chuck Ayers. Hello, welcome, welcome to Cat Country. We're so happy to have you here. Now, you wrote your song with Chuck Jones.
Yes, ma'am.
Before we get to Chuck Jones is an amazing songwriter. This guy wrote "Your Love Amazes Me" for John Barry. These are just the #1s. Diamond Rio, "Love a Little Stronger." Billy Dean, "It's What I Do." This guy is an amazing, amazing songwriter.
Oh, Chuck's one of them Memphis boys. He's got that Mississippi River water running through his veins. He's got that soul. He started out, you know, going from Patti LaBelle to Shelby Lynn, Chris Ledoux to Charlie Daniels, Reba McEntire to Peter Cetera.
Oh my goodness.
Boy is talented.
He wrote for everyone. So, so Chuck, what was that like for you working with this famous guy? Did you know he was famous when you sat
No,
down?
I didn't. This is just the most humble, unassuming, very, very kind man who obviously had a lot of talent. It wasn't until after I sat down and shared my story and he'd written that song that I called a friend of mine who's in the music industry in Nashville. Told him I'd written a song with Chuck Jones. He asked me, "You mean the Chuck Jones?" So he said, "You need to look him up." And so.
And then you did and went, "Oh my gosh."
Well, the talent was evident just in the time we spent together.
And we found that to be true. All of the songwriters that we met that came down to Chattanooga for the Operation Song event last year were just so humble, and they were really trying to give back to veterans. Let's talk about your story, Chuck. You were Army infantry in the Iraq era, so
yes.
It would have been 2000.
March 12, 2004 to March 12, 2005. We were at Camp War Eagle in Sadr City, Iraq, which is northeast Baghdad.
Oh, okay, so that was a really hairy area at that time.
Yes.
So it's boots on the ground, you're hand-to-hand combat, and all kinds of just terrible, terrible experiences. The things that we don't want anyone to go to and to have to go through, but I mean, those of us who are here and enjoy the safety and freedoms of our country understand that you guys doing that work is part of how we get there. But what we don't get a lot of times is that you guys come back and you have some issues with all the things that you see and deal with when you're over there.
Absolutely.
What was your personal story? When you came back, how was it for you?
I had most trouble with loss and grief. I lost 2 very close friends over there and had several more severely wounded.
You said there were 16 guys in your infantry unit.
16 out of 25.
Yeah, 16 of 25. So that's basically everybody in the unit, and 2 of your guys didn't come back.
Right.
So, grief. It's a process, and when you're dealing with that much grief all on top of each other, and then the readjustment back into society, because I mean it's different, the sights and sounds and smells when you're living back home, and the things that you've seen, and it changes your life, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
4th of July, firecrackers are going off. Does that have any effect on you? I mean, I used to live down the street from a Vietnam War vet, and the Life Flight helicopter used to fly over, and I'd catch him out in the bushes hiding, thinking he'd just flash right back to that. So you'd have to go out and say, come on, Johnny, let's go back in the house now. You know, and he was fine once he realized, oh, okay, everything's good. But it flashed him right back to that moment. You ever have any experiences like that?
Oh, sure. And I mean, I won't go into detail, but it has to do with the limbic system, the amygdala and hippocampus in the brain that causes these links, loud, sudden noises to RPGs, mortars, gunfire.
And all of a sudden,
it's just how your brain and your central nervous system are rewired.
And you're right back there, and it's a terrifying experience every time it happens. So. Now, you obviously, you're speaking the language of therapy. Have you been doing this a long time? I know that you joined the program and you're actually helping with the program now.
Right. I first got involved with working with combat veterans. I had a Vietnam veteran by the name of Michael Bearden take me under his wing and sort of guide me and help me navigate. And then he encouraged me to go back, get my master's degree to help other combat veterans. So that's what I'm doing now.
And that's what you do now.
Yes.
So what is your job now?
I'm a readjustment counseling therapist at the Chattanooga Vet Center.
Now, readjustment, that's something that I kind of skirted around the issue, but I think this is part of the big, this is a big part of the issue when soldiers come back from war, is trying to get back into the routine, trying to remember that you're married to this person and now they're in your space every day. Those are, all of those things have to be so difficult.
PTSD is a very complex issue. There's not one sole cause, there's not one single symptom cluster, and just because there's not one cause or one symptom cluster, there's not one treatment. It's got to be holistic, and I'm a firm believer that the music is a big part of that.
Chuck Ayers is our guest. He's an former Army infantry and one of our Operation Song vets that wrote a song with Chuck Jones. Now, when you came back, did you have some previous training in this area? I mean,
No, my previous, I had a bachelor's degree in television and film production. I was working as a production assistant for live sporting events, NFL, NHL, pro golf.
Goodness.
So yeah, I had no mental health background whatsoever.
So you came back and you threw yourself into work that was not military work, but you threw yourself into this work that you were doing, and then how did you know that you had an issue? How did you figure that out?
I had several people, I was in denial for a long time. I had several people tell me
That said,
there are things going on, and I said, no, I'm fine.
You're
I'm fine. But again, it goes back to when I finally met Michael Bearden, who, like me, suffered a traumatic brain injury, head injury, and he had his in Vietnam. I had mine in November of '04. And I realized, yeah, okay, that this is real. And here's a guy 45 years older than me that's been through the exact same thing, so I'm going to listen to him.
so how good is it for these vets to have someone like you who's been through these experiences and who suffers from the same things they do? How important is that for them?
I can only speak for myself. It was important to me when I met Michael to know that it wasn't something he just read in a book and had some understanding of. He'd taken the same steps I had.
What's the name of the song you wrote?
It's a Daddy from Maypearl.
Okay. We're going to take a little break here and do a little business, and we're going to come back and play that. And then we'll talk to Tina about the Operation Song program, which is now underway in Chattanooga. This is so awesome. I'm really excited about that. 8:15. This is you're listening to this radio station right now. Chances are good you're here because you like the music. We know you're not here for mac and cheese. We know that. But music is the center point of Operation Song, which is a music therapy program for veterans with PTSD. Chuck Ayers is our veteran and has written a song with Chuck Jones, the famous songwriter who wrote a ton of #1 songs, including John Barry's "Your Love Amazes Me." So Chuck, when you wrote this song with Chuck Jones, was it what kind of experience was it for you? Was it cathartic? Did it make you, when it was over, did you feel like there was a weight lifted, or were these stories that you had kind of shared before?
I think it was a very positive experience, but mainly the background of the story is, you know, we've talked about some of the terrible things that you see in combat. This song's about something I saw that I thought was really wonderful. It was, I think it was the best humanity can offer. It was just a story about a fellow soldier named Aaron McAllister, who, in the middle of a 4-hour firefight, there we were down to 4 riflemen and 1 cruiser, and we were clearing a house, and we were getting people out, and I noticed a little girl alone in this one dark room. You know, I knew I was too amped up to comfort her, and so I delegated and said, "Aaron, get her out." And you know, again, we were 1.5 hours, 2 hours into this firefight. Your heart's going 200 beats per minute, and but Aaron was the most composed guy. I fought with a lot of brave guys, but Aaron was the most composed. He took his rifle, slung it behind his back, took a knee, and you know, he doesn't speak a word of Arabic, and that little girl who's about 3 or 4 doesn't speak a word of English, but he just said, "Come here, baby," and she went right into his arms.
Oh.
So.
Wow. You know, I felt a change in your demeanor when you were talking about that. Do you feel your anxiety rising when you were talking about those stories? I just felt a slight energy change. Is that part of the PTSD?
Yeah, it can be. It can be. You know, it's not always easy for or combat veterans to talk about those things.
Right.
But the most important thing with this song, when Chuck did his original recording on his, I guess it was his cell phone or something, Aaron had no idea I wrote this song about it. And I sent it, because at the time this happened, this was August 9th, 2004, Aaron, his wife, had an infant baby girl back in a little town called Maypearl, Texas. And Aaron's still married, and now he has 3 children. That little girl's now 11 years old, so I wanted him to play that song for his mother, his wife, and his oldest daughter.
Well, the song is called, Daddy from Maypearl. So let's play that for you.
At the Dirty Bird prepping for patrol, when the news came over the radio, scouts were down and we lost a Humvee to 4 IEDs and some RPGs. It was Red Con 1 and I grabbed my vest. My heart was a hammer pounding in my chest. The fire was a heavy and the air was gritty. In Fedalea, near Solder City, well, McAllister was always sitting on gold. If he ever felt fear, he never let it show. Had a wife and a daughter back in Maypearl, a little Texas town in another world. Well, it wasn't the first house that we'd cleared, and in the faces you could see the fear. All alone in the dark was a scared little girl. She took McAllister all the way back to Maypearl. When he took a knee and I heard him say, "Come here, baby, don't you be afraid, 'cause a little girl is just a little girl to a daddy from Maypearl." Well, there's a lot of distance that he crossed, reaching out to that little girl lost. You should have seen the comfort that he gave before he had to go back to being brave. And for a moment there the world was right. There wasn't no enemy, there wasn't no fight. There wasn't no us and there wasn't no them. There wasn't no nothing but a her and him. When he took a knee and I heard him say, "Come here, baby, don't you be afraid. You know, a little girl is just a little girl to a daddy from Maypearl." It was Red Con 1 and I grabbed my vest. My heart was a hammer pounding in my chest. The fire was heavy and the air was gritty. In Fedalea, near Solder City.
Wow, that is Chuck Ayers, and the song is called Daddy from Maypearl. It's one of the Operation songs. Chuck, thank you so much for sharing that with us. How does it make you feel hearing that on the radio?
It was good, but I was really, really pleased when I was able to get that song to Aaron and have his family listen to it. That meant a lot.
What did they say? What?
He said they cried a lot.
I bet they did. I bet they did. You know, one of the things I've noticed is several of the songs that we've heard are people writing about the one positive experience that happened to them, the one thing, that one shining light that showed them that humanity still existed. Is that because when you're in that situation, or you're just hanging on to any thread of hope
Sure.
for
Sure.
something really great, for life the way you knew it, and that's just an amazing story, an amazing story. I love this guy, this McAllister guy. I've never met him, and I love him. I think he's great. Tina, I want to talk about a little bit. Tina Haynes is here, and she's from the Operation Song, and you guys are now getting started on your music therapy sessions here in Chattanooga, which is amazing.
Yes, we are really, really excited that we're able to grow the program now and to reach veterans in the Chattanooga area with music therapy and Operation Song. And these programs wouldn't be possible without the generous support of Heartland Therapeutic Programs, which is an organization based right here in Chattanooga, and also from Erlanger Medical Center, who is giving us space in their downtown lifestyle center so that we can hold weekly programs for local veterans to get involved in Operation Song.
I'd like to add one thing about Chuck Ayers and how it's incredible that all the experiences that he could have written about, he chose to honor a fellow veteran and pay tribute and honor to him.
That says so much. It says so much about your character. Thank you so much for sharing your story. We really appreciate it.